Hello everyone, welcome to Crime and Search. Today let's jump onto the trend again and talk about the University of Idaho student murder that happened a few months ago. This is a popular case discussed among true crime community members. With the arrest of Brian Christopher Kohberger, his identity as PhD student in criminology at Washington State University was exposed. He also reportedly earned a bachelor's degree in psychology in 2020. This makes the case very interesting and popular. So far, the suspect's motive remains unclear and Brian himself has pleaded not guilty. In this video, we have organized the information disclosed by the police and the media. Let's walk through the general circumstances of this case. This case took place in Moscow. This Moscow here is not the one in Russia, it's in the state of Idaho. It's the home of the University of Idaho. The University of Idaho is one of the oldest universities in the United States. It is also the leading research university in the Northwest region of the United States. Moscow campus has attracted more than 10,000 students, but like all college towns, it is not a big city. It only has more than 25,000 permanent residents, and a large part of it is students and employees of the University of Idaho. Students generally choose to share a house that locates not far from the school. Firstly, it is convenient to commute to school. Secondly, they can be with their friends and enjoy college life. 1122 King Road is such a stereotypical student house. There live 5 girls of about the same age. They are Dylan Mortensen, Xana Kernodle, Bethany Funk, Kaylee Goncalves, and Madison Mogan. The 5 girls lived together and had a very good relationship. 20 years old Xana and 21 years old Madison are both marketing students. Madison is Xana's senior. The 2 girls work at the same restaurant and participate in student organizations together. Kaylee and Madison are childhood friends. The 2 have been friends since grade 6. Kaylee majored in education with a dream of becoming a teacher. This house is big enough that these girls often hold various parties in the house. It became a famous party house among students. There are a lot of people visiting this place. Often the party would be too loud and the neighbors would file a noise complaint. The police would visit them several times, but only gave them verbal warnings. Sunday, November 13, 2022, 11:58 p.m. The Moscow Police Department received a call again from 1122 King Road. But this time it's not as simple as a noise complaint. The person on the phone appeared to be in a panic and said someone in the house is unconscious. The police rushed to the scene immediately. At a glance, it looks like any normal small 3-story house. Police officers entered through the main entrance and saw a few people panicking. 2 of them are tenants here, Dylan and Bethany. According to them, several people went out to party last night and they partied till late at night. Today, when they woke up, they went to the 2nd floor for breakfast. While passing by Xana's room, they spotted Xana with her 20-year-old boyfriend Ethan Chapin collapsed in the bedroom. They could not wake them up and there was blood on the floor. Dylan and Bethany hurried to the 3rd floor and wanted to call Madison and Kaylee for help, but found they were both murdered too. Dylan fainted on the spot. Bethany called her friends for help. After her friends arrived, several people called the police together. Sure enough, the police found Xana and her boyfriend in a bedroom on the 2nd floor. They had no signs of life. There was still a lot of blood at the scene. Then they found Madison and Kaylee's bodies in the bedroom on the 3rd floor. The scene is very horrible and graphic. The police immediately cordoned off the scene and contacted the state troopers and the FBI for support. At 4 p.m., state troopers and the FBI, supported by the forensics team, arrived at the crime scene. 1122 King Road is a small 3-story building built on a slope, so there are 2 entrances, one on the 1st floor and one on the 2nd floor. There are 6 bedrooms. After entering from the 1st floor main entrance, on the left is the stairs leading to the 2nd floor. There is a hallway behind the stairs that leads to the bathroom, the utility room, and the bedroom on the left side of the 1st floor belonging to Bethany, one of the girls who called the cops. The bedroom on the right-hand side of the entrance was vacant at the time of the murder. After going up the stairs to the 2nd floor, there is a large living room with a couch and a TV. To the right of the living room, there is a walkway that leads to the 1st toilet and bedroom on the 2nd floor. The officers took a few steps forward and saw Xana's body. She fell head down on the floor. After entering the bedroom, the police found the corpse of Xana's boyfriend Ethan. After coming out of Xana's room, the officers returned to the living room and followed another aisle that leads to the kitchen. The kitchen is tidy and there is a sliding door that gives direct access to the courtyard. Because this house was built on a hillside, this door can be used as the back door of the house. There is a bedroom directly opposite the kitchen. On the night of the incident, Dylan slept in this bedroom. Between the kitchen and the bedroom is the stairs to the 3rd floor. There are 2 bedrooms on the 3rd floor. One of them is on the right-hand side of the stairs next to a small bathroom. After the police entered the bedroom, they found Kaylee and Madison's bodies on a single bed. State police were also informed that Kaylee's dog, Murphy, was locked up in another bedroom on the 3rd floor at the time of the murder. To protect the site, they had to move the dog somewhere else. All the doors and windows of the house had no sign of damage. The door lock is a password lock. The murderer should be someone who knows the password. The police realized this case is very complicated after watching the scene. There is the possibility of multiple killers, but if alone, then this person must be very familiar with the environment and well plan the whole murder. Can it be an acquaintance of one of the victims? And why did that person kill 4 people and left 2 people alive? This incident immediately attracted great social attention. For college students killed in an apartment not far from school undoubtedly brought bad feelings to a small peaceful town. Many students went home scared and did not dare to party. At the beginning phase of the investigation, the community and the media thought this as a murder mystery due to the complexity of the murder. Because this house often had parties, many students are very familiar with the place and know the door password, so there's no way to find a breakthrough by going through the victim's social connections. The murderer's goals and motives were also completely unpredictable. The first step was to figure out the specific time of the incident. By using forensic examination, the surrounding surveillance footage, and the investigation of the 2 survivors and victim, the police established a timeline of the night of the incident. They figured the out trajectory of everyone in the house from Saturday night, November 12th to the morning of Sunday, November 13th before the police showed up. They speculated the exact time of the incident. On Saturday night, Xana and her boyfriend Ethan went to a student club at around 9 o'clock. It's only a few hundred meters from their home. It takes about 5 minutes to walk there. Kaylee and Madison called an Uber at 10:30 p.m. and went to a bar at 202 Main Street. The 2 girls, along with many college students, are regular visitors there. At 1:30 a.m. on the 13th, Kaylee and Madison left the bar together with a friend. Captured by surveillance cameras on the road, the 3 of them seemed that they had a great time at the bar. At 1:41, the 3 people came to a food truck a few blocks away from the bar and bought some food. Kaylee is in the gray hoodie and Madison is in the black coat. 10 minutes later, they got the food and called an Uber. After 6 minutes, they returned to 1122 King. Xana and her boyfriend have also returned home along with the 2 surviving girls, Dylan and Bethany. As Dylan and Bethany recall, the victims were the same as usual. They chatted for a while and went back to their room. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell rang. The delivery guy put the takeout food on the front door and left. Xana came out and took the food she ordered. Dylan recalled she was in the room on the 2nd floor and heard the sound of Kaylee playing with the dog upstairs. She vaguely heard Kaylee said there seems to be someone here and she was a little scared. Dylan opened the bedroom door and looked outside. She saw nothing and thought maybe she had heard wrong. At 4:12 a.m., in another bedroom on the 2nd floor, mobile phone records showed Xana was on her mobile phone, browse on TikTok. Dylan opened the door a second time to check on Xana because she heard a girl crying from Xana's room. Then she heard a man's voice. She opened the bedroom door but still didn't see anything unusual. She just thinks Xana was arguing with her boyfriend and went back to bed. At 4:17, a surveillance camera just 15 meters from Shauna's bedroom captured an unusual sound that was like someone crying. After the crying was a loud bang sound. The dog was also barking. Dylan heard it too in the room. She opened the door for the 3rd time to check. This time she saw a man in black walking towards her. The man was wearing a mask. Dylan only saw his thick eyebrows. He looks about 1.78 meters tall, slim but lean and fit. The man should have seen Dylan too, but he didn't pause at all and walked straight to the kitchen, opened the sliding door, and left the house. Dylan was already too scared to move. After she snapped back to her senses, she locked herself in a room. The police can estimate the time of the murder as accurately as between 4 o'clock and 4:20. The killer should have killed Kaylee and Madison on the 3rd floor first, then killed Xana and her boyfriend. Finally, he was seen by Dylan and fled the scene. The forensics also verified the police's speculation. Then they pointed out several victims were killed by the same sharp weapon, presumably a very sharp dagger. They also have some resistance injuries. The killer most likely ambushed the victims, but there is still the possibility of the victim putting up sun resistance and hurting the killer, which would leave the DNA at the scene. At the same time, the police also found shoe prints with diamond-like patterns, much like the Vans, that don't belong to anyone in the house, at the door of Dylan's room. They also found a scabbard for a Ka-Bar knife next to the dead bodies of Kaylee and Madison. This type of knife was used by the USMC for close combat. Until now, it is still one of the standard equipment of the US military. Of course, this dagger is available in many places in the US. Many people who like camping or hunting will also buy it. Usually equipped with a scabbard, this knife should be the murder weapon, but it was taken away by the murderer. The police successfully extracted a DNA sample from an unknown male on this scabbard left over from the scene. This DNA doesn't belong to anyone in the house. With a more precise crime time, it greatly improved the efficiency of inspecting the surveillance footage. Police gather footage from all home cameras installed by nearby residents along with traffic cameras. They plan to find this person's car by using the footage. The crime scene is located in a residential area with low traffic. At 4 a.m. when the murder occurred, there should not have much traffic around the place. If any vehicle that does not belong to a local resident appears, then it would be very suspicious. In addition, to access the crime scene, the person must pass Queen Road, which is in front of the house entrance. The car is bound to be photographed. After checking the footage, sure enough, they found a major discovery. At 4:04 a.m. on November 13th, a white car passed by the crime scene. A sharp operator also discovered that this is not the first time this white car appeared near the scene. They reviewed the footage several times and found this white car appeared at 3:29 a.m. and from then until 4:20 a.m., the car passed the crime scene 4 times. At 4:04, after passing the crime scene, it turned around by using the parking area ahead. The car slowed down when passing again and seemed to want to stop. But maybe because the crime scene did not have enough parking spots, that white car did a 3-point turn at the intersection of King Road and Queen Road. It then passed the crime scene for the 4th time. This sequence of operations took about a minute or 2. This car arrived at the scene around 4:06. At 4:20, the white car was photographed speeding away from the scene. This is the same white car spotted earlier in the footage. This white car's movement matched the timeline of the crime, which makes the owner of the car the major suspect. An expert from the FBI roughly guessed this white car should be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Police officers who were familiar with local routes believed that this car most likely went on Palouse River Drive to leave the scene. This road is located in the south of Moscow. From here you can go to the neighboring Washington state. The police then reviewed all the surveillance footage of nearby roads before and after the incident. They found at 3:26 a.m. before the incident, this car was driving down Indian Hills, DR, where it's less than 5 minutes drive from the crime scene. The police suspected that the suspect was circling the crime scene. At 3:29, this car was photographed passing the crime scene for the first time. After the incident, it indeed went on Palouse River Drive and went to Whitman County in Washington state. Whitman County is about 15 kilometers away from Moscow. The city of Pullman is located here. It is also a famous college town. The Washington State University's campus is here. The two universities are very close to each other. It only takes 15 minutes to arrive at Washington State University from Moscow by driving on Route 270. Police then reviewed all surveillance footage at the Washington State University campus and spotted a white Hyundai Elantra. At 2:53 a.m. on the 13th of November, it was driving toward the Southeast Nevada Road to Pullman. This is the direction to access Route 270. After careful observation, FBI experts concluded this car is an Elantra produced from 2014 to 2016, and it is highly similar to the suspect vehicle at the crime scene. The next time this car appeared on surveillance at Washington State University is 5:25 a.m. in the morning. It was photographed by several cameras in the college town along the way. By using the footage, the police determined the last known location of this white Elantra, which was near the Washington State University area. So on November 25th, the police notified all nearby law enforcement around Washington State University to find a 2011 to 2016 white Hyundai Elantra. On the 29th, University police reported they found a white 2015 production Elantra parked in front of a student apartment building. The license plate of this car is LFZ 8649. The owner is a criminology PhD student, 28 years old, Brian Christopher Koberger. Brian was admitted in August 2022. He also worked as a teaching assistant while doing his PhD. Before coming to Washington State University, he got his bachelor's degree from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. He then did further graduate studies at the university, completing those in 2022, a representative for DeSales confirmed. Brian fits the witness description. Dylan described the suspect as a man in black, tall and lean with thick eyebrows. Brian is 1.8 meters tall and lean, and he has thick eyebrows. Further investigation found Brian had no previous criminal record, only a few minor violations, and one of them attracted the police's attention. This violation occurred in 2022. On August 21st, Brian was driving his white Elantra alone with no seat belt. The traffic officer ticketed him for dangerous driving. The violation was not important, but it was the location of the violation. He was pulled over near the intersection of the University of Idaho, which was very close to the crime scene. After pulling over, Brian offered to provide a mobile phone number ending in 8458 and told the traffic officer this is his number. The police then applied for a search warrant for Brian. December 23rd, they used the search warrant to obtain the mobile record of that phone number Brian provided, and they had more surprising discoveries. Brian's cell phone signal appeared near the crime scene at least 12 times, every time it was between nighttime to early morning. Back on August 21st, the day of the traffic violation, he was at King Road starting from 10:34 p.m. that night until 11:35 p.m. His phone signal showed he left after 11:35 p.m. and he got pulled over for seatbelt violation a few minutes later. Since 1122 King Road is a famous party house with a lot of people visiting, Brian should be very familiar with the house since he had been there multiple times. He also likely met the victims before. So far, he has the same car that appeared at the crime scene, fits the suspect description, and has possibly been at the crime scene multiple times before, which makes him the primary target for investigation. However, the next discoveries found by the police made him the primary suspect for this murder. Brian's cell phone location records showed at 2:47 a.m. on November 13th, which was the day of the murder, Brian's phone suddenly lost contact with the cell tower. The phone should be shut off manually or airplane mode got turned on. At 2:53 a.m., surveillance near Washington State University caught a car similar to Brian's car heading toward the University of Idaho Moscow. At 4:20 a.m. a similar car left the crime scene, and 20 minutes later Brian's phone turned on again. The signal showed he was on the south side of Moscow. This highly matched the suspect's route. At 5:27 a.m., mobile phone signal showed he arrived back at his apartment in Pullman. What's even more thrilling is that at 9:12 a.m. in the morning, Brian's cell phone was connected to the signal tower near the crime scene. This was before they discovered the dead bodies. There's a good chance that he went back to the crime scene again and stayed there for at least 9 minutes. A few hours later, at 12:36 p.m. mobile phone records showed Brian came back to Clarkson in Washington State and went to a supermarket at 12:49 p.m. Surveillance in the supermarket also photographed Brian. At 1:04 p.m. he left the supermarket. At 5:36 p.m. that day, he showed up in Johnson in Idaho, which is a 2-hour drive from Pullman. This is a very strange behavior. At 5:38, his cell phone signal is gone again and his signal was not back online until 8:30 p.m. To sum it up, when the suspect vehicle drove towards the crime scene, Brian's cell phone went off and remained closed during the time period of the murder. His cell phone was only turned on until after the murder. He appeared in the city of Moscow where the incident occurred and took a detour back to Pullman. At 9 a.m. the next day, he drove back to the crime scene again. The location records of his mobile phone matched the driving route of the suspect vehicle. In the afternoon after the incident, he deliberately drove to a remote place. Maybe he was getting rid of the crime weapon and tools. This is very suspicious. On December 15th, more than a month after the incident, Brian was pulled over by Indiana police on the road. He drove across the country with his father, heading home back to Pennsylvania. Although the police had locked onto him, but without definite physical evidence, there was no way to arrest him directly. Finally, after a week, the court issued a warrant. At this time, Brian had returned to his hometown in Pennsylvania. As mentioned before, the police obtained a DNA sample from the scabbard of a crowbar at the crime scene. As long as Brian's DNA can be collected for comparison, then they can determine if he is the killer or not. The police had no right to directly collect DNA from Brian, so they watched his house and waited for an opportunity. Brian, being a PhD student in criminology, was very careful. Not only he cleaned up his car carefully, he even wore gloves when throwing out the trash. The police went through his garbage for several days in a row and did not find useful DNA. Finally, on December 27th, at 4 a.m., detectives saw Brian dumping his trash in the neighbor's trash can. They quickly took the garbage back. The key DNA evidence was finally extracted. The comparison results showed the DNA from Brian's trash and the DNA on the scabbard at the scene are genetically related. The DNA from the trash is the paternity of the male DNA on the scabbard. Since Brian is the only son in his family, this confirmed that Brian is the suspect. On December 30th, at 3 p.m., police and SWAT surrounded Brian's home and formally arrested him. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder along with felony burglary. After hearing that Brian was arrested, his former classmates and friends were interviewed by the media. Someone said he was bullied in high school for being overweight. Some said he was introverted and he bullied other students while being bullied. Others said he did drugs in his senior year of high school but successfully quit and lost weight. He later found a new direction in life with an interest in psychology and criminology. Brian was extradited to Idaho. The police are still investigating his motive for killing the 4 students. The judge read the prosecutor's indictment against him in court and told him that if convicted of first-degree murder, the maximum penalty will be death or life imprisonment. Facing prosecution, Brian seems very calm and his lawyer will represent him in a not guilty plea. Will he be found guilty in the end? Will there be more discoveries found later? We can only wait and watch his trial. There is another point of the case that was highly discussed by the public. It is how survivor Dylan reacted to the man she saw. She only locked the door but did not call the police immediately. Many people think she is suspicious, but there is no evidence to prove that she was involved. Now we have finished walking through this case. Do you think Brian was the killer? If it was him, being a PhD student in criminology, how can he leave the scabbard with his DNA at the crime scene? How can he make such a low-level mistake? Why did he not kill everyone in the house, especially Dylan, the girl who saw him? Is it possible that the killer wasn't him? Or maybe all the evidence was deliberately left by him for the police and this is a game he carefully designed? He chose to plead not guilty. Do you think he can win the trial? I believe that with the in-depth investigation of the police, more details will emerge. We will keep paying attention to this case. If you have any information or speculations, please leave them in the comments. Finally, stay alert and stay safe. Thanks for watching.